This week, Woody Allen and Helen Hunt have a love-hate relationship in The Curse of the Jade Scorpion.
Nicolas Cage and Penelope Cruz struggle to keep their wartime love alive in Captain Corelli's Mandolin.
And Ice Cube and Natasha Henstridge fight the ghosts of Mars.
What are you saying? Are you saying how beautiful life is since the Italians arrived?
All my life I've been waiting. I don't know how I survived before you came.
Nicolas Cage and Penelope Cruz fall in love across enemy lines in Captain Corelli's Mandolin. I'm Richard Roeper.
And I'm Roger Ebert. Captain Corelli's Mandolin takes place on a Greek island which is occupied by a small military force led by Captain Corelli, an Italian officer played by Nicolas Cage. He's not much of a soldier, more of a romantic, and he soon grows close to the beautiful Pelagia, played by Penelope Cruz. Her father is the local doctor, played by John Hurt. He knows how dangerous this romance is for the two young lovers, especially since everyone in the village knows Pelagia is already engaged to a Greek partisan fighter.
The first 45.5 bars are for the orchestra. Allegro, moderato, e grazioso. You have to imagine the orchestra.
I'm damned if I can sit through all that tapping again.
Then a German force also lands on the island. The Italians and Germans are officially allies, but everybody knows that Italy is about to surrender.
Met before. A surrender at the town hall. You're much better at having parties than you are at negotiating surrender.
For the Italians, the war is over. For the Germans and the people on the island, it's not.
What if the Germans send planes?
Don't go near Argostoli. Stay away from Montesamo's beach.
Captain Corelli's Mandolin is based on a long, rich comic novel by Louis de Bernier, which I enjoyed a lot. The movie, though, somehow lacks the richness of the novel and hurries from one plot point to the next without generating atmosphere and feeling. Nicolas Cage and Penelope Cruz are not very convincing as these ethnic characters, but even if they were, this would be a simplified romance because it lacks all of the supporting material, including the saga of her Greek boyfriend, who is both a hero and, in his own way, a victim of both love and war. Also lacking is a sense of secrecy. Too many people know what's going on, and that's not plausible. Thumbs down for me.
Well, no, that's what the village is like. Everybody would know what everybody else is doing. And I think it's dripping with all the things that you say it lacks. It has romance. It has lush settings. It has a richness to it. It's very funny. It reminds me a little bit of John Madden's Shakespeare in Love. It has some of those whimsical touches. And I think Nicolas Cage and Penelope Cruz are perfectly cast for this, Roger. Cage is playing kind of a version of the guy he played in Moonstruck. He's crazy. He's nuts, but he's crazy about women. And she's gorgeous, and you can understand why he would risk everything for her. I thought this was a beautiful love story.
Penelope Cruz is gorgeous. I'll give you that. Now, I don't want to get involved in ethnic stereotyping here, but there's a woman in this movie who plays the partisan fighter's mother, and her name is Irene Pappas. She's 72 years old now. She's been around for a long time. She was in Zorba the Greek. She was a fiery actress, a fierce Greek woman. And when you see Penelope Cruz, she's more of a soft, romantic, dreamy type. She doesn't have that kind of fire.
She's got scenes where she loses it, where she gets mad. And Christian Bale, who was in American Psycho, is very good as this boyfriend.
Yeah, but you hardly ever see that guy. You don't get her his
well, he's
entire
off
story.
at war at some point.
Yeah, but he's not off at war in the novel. It's very important in the novel what he does off at war.
Well, we're not reviewing the novel, we're reviewing the film.
No, that's true. That's true.
And I think that this film does. It's a wonderful, terrific love story. I'm really surprised that you didn't see. I mean, the setting was nice. John Hurt was good.
Great atmosphere. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot to recommend then.
No, it's just not there.
All right. Next up is American Outlaws, another version of the legend of Jesse James. This time with Jesse as a dreamboat who makes all the frontier girls swoon. Colin Farrell, who was so good in Tigerland, has real star presence, but he's trapped in a corny, one-sided story here. There are no shades of gray. Jesse and his gang are depicted as flat-out superheroes taking on the evil, plundering Rock Island Railroad. Scott Kahn is Jesse's partner, Cole Younger.
You know, all the newspapers are calling this bunch the James Younger gang, right?
Yeah.
Well, why not we the Younger James gang?
The Younger James gang is confusing.
How's that, Bob?
Well, say we burst into a bank, and we yell, "We're the Younger James gang!" Now, people are going to be thinking the Younger James gang. Is there an older James gang?
Hey. There's a lot of self-conscious banter like that. Something tells me the real Jesse James and Cole Younger didn't do shtick like the cops from Rush Hour 2.
The bank officials estimate the loss at $50,000.
$50,000? Like 50,000 pesos.
Gabriel Macht is Frank James, and Allie Larder plays their childhood friend who has matured into a cover girl on the prairie.
Esmeralda? Little Zane Mims?
Well, you were little Jesse James when you left.
Yeah, but you got big.
There's nothing in American Outlaws we haven't seen before in better movies like The Long Riders. Farrell's a good actor, but his 21st century hair and physique and his kind of sweet temperament make this Jesse James a rather bland outlaw. And the railroad men and the Pinkerton detectives are such cartoonishly rotten, murderous thugs that we almost expect them to twirl their mustaches and cackle to the sky. The stars of American Outlaws look like the Backstreet Boys in Dude Ranch gear, but this is just a tired old vehicle.
You know, it's funny you mentioned the Backstreet Boys because in my print review of this movie, I said they're not so much an outlaw gang as a boy band. I mean,
really?
You never really believe that this is the famous James Younger gang. These are guys who are self-conscious media heroes in a softened-down, idiotic story that I think really qualifies one of the worst movies of the year. This movie has no connection at all with anyone named Jesse James.
No, and the real story and the real Jesse James is much more interesting. There's a scene where one of the main characters in this movie, I don't want to say who, comes out of a building that just exploded with the charcoal on their face, and they're like, I see Jesus, and they do one of those little dead things like you see. I mean, it's almost like a comedy without trying to be.
That was a great movie about the James Younger gang called The Great Northfield, Minnesota Raid with Cliff Robertson and Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
And in that movie, they were grown-ups. They were tough.
Right.
They weren't just kind of like heroes who are against the evil railroad. And for that matter, you saw the movie The Claim.
Right.
Why are they against the railroad? It's going to make them rich.
Exactly. I think a second-grade play would probably be more realistic than this version.
Coming up later, Woody Allen and Helen Hunt hate each other until they fall under the curse of the Jade Scorpion.
It's fascinating, as a female executive, how many men I meet with a fragile masculinity.
And coming up next, Hector Elizondo and Raquel Welch in the spicy comedy Tortilla Soup.
It would be nice if you found someone, though.
Yeah, someone else.
Oh, Martine.
Please cut the Spanglish.
I think I may have met my destiny today. I thought you were mad at her. Why don't you mind your own business?
When are you going to grow up?
When everybody gets off my back.
Hector Elizondo plays a patriarch with 3 daughters in Tortilla Soup, a warm and funny comedy about life, love, and terrific food in a Mexican-American family. He's also a great chef, but now retired and depressed because he's lost his senses of taste and smell. His wife died years ago, and he worries about his oldest daughter, a spinster teacher, played by Elizabeth Pena, his middle girl, a businesswoman, played by Jacqueline Obradors, and the youngest, a hip rebel, played by Tamara Mello.
And please don't tell me. It's Spanglish, perhaps. Quizás, perhaps.
The daughters would all like to have their father remarry, and Raquel Welch plays a leading candidate, although not all of the girls agree.
And what are you rebelling against, dear? People who talk and talk and talk and say nothing.
Careful, honey. Boys don't like smartasses.
Yeah, they just like asses.
Life revolves around the dinner table, where the oldest daughter amazes everyone by bringing home a boyfriend played by Paul Rodriguez.
You like tortilla soup?
Yes, of course, yes. My mother used to make it for us all the time. She never made it like this.
If Tortilla Soup seems familiar, no wonder it's based on the same screenplay as Ang Lee's film, Eat, Drink, Man, Woman, which was about a Taiwanese chef and his 3 daughters. The transition of cultures is effortless, and it's great to see Hector Elizondo, an actor of instinctive charm and conviction, in a starring role. The director, Maria Ripoll, has a lot of storylines to follow here, as all 3 girls and the father make big romantic decisions, but she moves between the stories smoothly, and she holds our attention, and then the food looks great, too. It was prepared by Mary Sue Milliken and Susan Finnegar, the 2 hot tamales from the Food Network, in case you wanted to know.
Yeah, well, the food's like a supporting character in this film. It really makes you hungry. And, of course, they hardly ever actually eat the food because they prepare the food lovingly, and they sit down, and then one character or another says, I have an announcement to make. And then the fireworks go, and it ends up with people breaking dishes or running off or hugging or kissing. But I thought it was a wonderful film. I think everybody's really good in here. It's interesting that almost every actor in this film is Latino, but has played a lot of Anglo characters, of course, including Raquel Welch. So it's nice to see them celebrating their heritage and speaking in this kind of Spanglish, as they call it, English and Spanish back and forth.
You know, there's a whole tradition now that's coming along of movies based on ethnic cuisines. Like Big Night was about Italian.
What's Cooking?
And What's Cooking? Then you had Soul Food.
Right.
And now you have this. And I think it's great. You could make your own film festival of movies about food and families.
Now we
and
just bring back Smell-O-Vision and we're all set. We can pick up all the sets.
But Elizondo was fabulous in this film. He is so effortless in his conviction as an actor and so often has played supporting roles in the past.
A dignified performance. Okay, coming up next, seductress Charlize Theron targets Woody Allen in The Curse of the Jade Scorpion.
I usually prefer more attractive, athletic, muscular men.
Well, maybe I could get on a few push-ups before you came over.
So you work together? I can't stand
Don't pay attention to him. He's a sleazy little megalomaniac who's frightened of women.
A hypnotized Woody Allen and Helen Hunt reveal the extent of their mutual loathing in The Curse of the Jade Scorpion, and that's David Ogden Stiers as the hypnotist. It's 1940, and Allen is C.W. Briggs, an old-school gumshoe-type insurance investigator who clashes daily with his firm's new efficiency expert, Betty Ann Fitzgerald, played by Hunt. She doesn't care for his methods, his personality, his looks, his very DNA, but that doesn't stop him from asking her out to see if they can smooth things over.
Despite all your highfalutin talk about streamlining the office, what you really need is a good old-fashioned roll in the hay.
You wouldn't know which end is up.
Well, in your case, it would be hard to tell.
While investigating a break-in at a client's mansion, CW encounters spoiled rich girl Laura Kensington, played by Charlize Theron.
They say I always get my man.
Me too.
Now, for Woody Allen, that's one of the perks of writing, directing, and starring in your own vehicles. You can keep creating these scenarios where dolls who are a foot taller and 30 years younger find you attractive. After another break-in, it's CW himself who becomes the prime suspect.
They plant a footprint and a fingerprint, and the night watchman forges my signature. It's easy. And then this crazy girl who smokes opium makes up a story, and Fitzgerald plants the jewels in my apartment.
There's a word for people who think everyone is conspiring against them.
That's right, perceptive.
Curse of the Jade Scorpion is a light but worthy companion piece to such Allen works as Small-Time Crooks and Bullets Over Broadway. In other words, it's not Annie Hall or Manhattan, but it's an amusing trifle. And even a relatively slight effort from Woody Allen is galaxies above most modern comedies. Helen Hunt and Dan Aykroyd are particularly good at capturing the clipped staccato delivery reminiscent of comedies from the 30s and 40s. And Allen still has a great way of circling his lines with hesitations and repetition before punching home the joke.
You know, I agree with everything you said about the movie, except I wouldn't give it thumbs up because it just didn't quite make it there for me. It seemed like this one lacked the exquisite timing that Allen usually has, and that some of the lines, especially his own lines, didn't really have the right punchline or the punch word. They didn't really sell. They didn't really deliver. And the movie, as a result, never really took off for me.
Oh, I thought he had just enough to me. I mean, it's not one of my favorite movies of the year. But I mean, there was some great stuff with Helen Hunt, and she keeps saying each time he leaves the room, she's like, "Well, don't fall down and crack your head open and have a terrible injury. You know, that would be a horrible thing if that happened."
I love her. The long list of insults. You know, you worm. You. She goes on and on with
mostly about his size and everything. And I also like the fact that he acknowledges that he's older now. I mean, the characters say that to him. You're old and you're balding and this and that. So even though he's a lot older than these people, they're
I give you all of that, and I like the hypnosis gimmick and what it leads to. But the movie, you know, compared to, for example, Small Time Crooks, which is wonderful, it just doesn't really get over the top.
I thought it just got over the top.
Okay, we're
pretty close on this one.
Okay. Our next movie is John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars. And this is a classic space opera set 200 years from now on the Red Planet, when Earth colonies are ruled by a matriarchy. A driverless train returns to the major city with only one person on board, an officer played by Natasha Henstridge, who tells a story of violence and terror that took place when she led a police force to a mining camp to collect a prisoner.
Jericho!
This is not making me happy.
Pam Grier plays another cop who was on that ill-fated mission. Their goal had been to pick up and return a killer named Desolation Williams, played by Ice Cube. He's in jail, but the killings continue, and Johanna Cassidy may have the explanation.
After we dynamited the mountain, we discovered an entrance. It was a tunnel carved into the rock. It had been hidden underneath the outer walls for centuries, and someone other than man had carved it.
The town humans have become zombies, and the cops try to kill as many as they can while blasting themselves free.
Get yourselves ready!
Oh, my.
A lot of the movie takes place inside a police station under siege, and that will remind John Carpenter fans of his first film, Assault on Precinct 13. There are also elements of Night of the Living Dead here in a movie that combines science fiction with a lot of martial arts footage. Ghost of Mars looks good, it moves quickly, Ice Cube and Hentridge worked well together, and as action, I liked it.
Yeah, it's a great drive-in movie. There aren't that many drive-in theaters left in this country, but that's where this movie should be playing.
Okay.
It's perfect for that.
Yeah.
And I think Natasha Hentridge, I thought she was going to become a star after Species, and it didn't really happen, but she's great here. She's big, she's powerful. She'd be a good counterpart for Lara Croft Tomb Raider, Angelina Jolie. I mean, these are real big, strong, powerful women, and I thought she was terrific in this.
The only thing that disappoints me is, and I love science fiction, how come so much science fiction comes down to basically the ghouls attacking and the heroes with their big guns? I mean, it's the same thing as Starship Troopers in a way. It's target practice or a video game. I would have liked a little bit more of the background story, where the ghosts of Mars came from and who the Martians were and why they only want to attack and why they're not interesting or
But if
something.
they gave us more background story, then it wouldn't make any sense and we wouldn't care. And this way we just get spinning hubcaps decapitating
but if
people.
you were
And that's fun.
If
That's
you were a
fun
ghost
stuff.
of Mars and you have been pinned up for 300 million years, would you be mad at the people who let you out?
I can't make that leap for you and tell you what I would do as a ghost of Mars, actually. Okay, coming up next, Reese Witherspoon and Ryan Phillippe are illegally blonde, sort of, in my video spotlight.
Please stop.
Reese Witherspoon has a cotton candy summer hit with Legally Blonde, but 2 years ago, she also played a popular young princess in a much darker vehicle. This week's video spotlight shines on Cruel Intentions, a prep school update of Dangerous Liaisons. Witherspoon is the sweet Annette who has written an article for 17 magazine singing the praises of virginity. Ryan Phillippe, now married to Witherspoon in real life, is the womanizer Sebastian. He bets his wickedly cynical stepsister Catherine that he can seduce Annette.
If I win, then that hot little car of yours is mine.
And if I win?
I'll give you something you've been obsessing about ever since our parents got married.
And that, of course, is TV's Buffy, Sarah Michelle Gellar, as Catherine. In the meantime, Catherine is turning a naive freshman, played by Selma Blair, into her personal puppet.
Think of Sebastian as a tutor. Let him instruct you.
But I don't love him. I love Ronald.
So? Don't you want to make Ronald happy? Practice makes perfect, Cecile. My advice is to sleep with as many people as possible.
That would make me a slut. Wouldn't it?
There's also a killer soundtrack with songs from Amy Mann and Fatboy Slim, and the Verve's version of the Jagger Richards composition, Bittersweet Symphony, which has put to great use in the film's surprisingly moving conclusion. Cruel Intentions is sexy, clever, and stylish, and it's in the video spotlight this week.
When we come back, the attack of the B pictures. I recently used the expression big budget B picture and heard from Maria Carmesino of New York, who told the movie Answer Man she thought the whole idea of B pictures was that they were low budget. Well, historically, she's absolutely right, but you can also tell a B picture by its look, feel, and subject matter. B movies want to deliver mass entertainment in popular genres. They don't pause for tricky insights or difficult ideas, and the last thing they want to be is original or daring. Right now, Hollywood is committed to making B pictures on a budget. Movies like Ghosts of Mars, Planet of the Apes, Jurassic Park 3, Lara Croft Tomb Raider, and The Mummy Returns are B pictures to their very bones. And just because they cost a lot of money doesn't make them A pictures. I like a lot of them. I just don't confuse them with more ambitious films, and I'm the movie Answer Man.
Okay, recapping this week's movies, a split decision for Captain Corelli's Mandolin, 2 thumbs way down for American Outlaws, 2 thumbs up for Tortilla Soup, another split on Curse of the Jade Scorpion, And 2 thumbs up for Ghost of Mars. Now, we should point out that Tortilla Soup, Curse of the Jade Scorpion, and Ghost of Mars all open next week.
And we should also warn our viewers about another movie that's opening this week, Rat Race. It's another retread of the airplane Naked Gun spoof format, which by this point I think is pretty much terminally exhausted. The movie has relentless energy, but not many laughs.
Yeah, there's nothing more tedious than a romp that doesn't romp. Okay, remember you can hear our reviews at ebert-roeper-movies.com and read us in print at suntimes.com. Next week, we'll be back with a special show on the DVD boom. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
And so much for the long, hot B-movie summer of 2001,
Yeah.
and it's a kind of a tradition that good movie season starts on September the 1st.
Yeah, everybody talks about now we can start talking about the Oscar race, although I don't want people to forget performances like Tilda Swinton's in The Deep End, which is Oscar-worthy, and even I think Nicole Kidman and the others. There was good stuff out there, not a lot of it, I'll give you that.
You know, the funny thing about the summer pictures are that you see them, they open $60, $70 million, they
Right.
drop off 50%, and then you forget them.
There wasn't one movie that stayed at #1 for 2 weeks running, even something like Shrek, which made a lot of money.
Wake up to new Hot Pockets brand breakfasts. Real scrambled eggs, bacon or sausage in a crispy, buttery crust. Wake up to Hot Pockets. Find the breakfast flavors next to Hot Pockets.
A house is not a home until it's safe. The Brinks home security system. Just $99 installed. Call 1-800-GO-BRINKS.
There's never been a better time to join America Online.
I plan all my vacations.
Get driving directions.
Email. It's fast. It's easy.
America Online. Call 1-800-4ONLINE.
Sometimes it seems there's just not enough minutes in the day to do everything you need to do and still make your family dinner. Pull it all together with Manwich.
Closed captioning for Ebert and Roeper in the movies is brought to you by...
When I drive with this little guy, I drive with confidence because I trust my brakes to Meineke.
At Meineke, you'll get a lot, but you won't pay a lot.